evening. It is 6:30. I would like to call to order the Sheboygan Area Schools regular meeting for the Board of Education for November 25th, 2024. Sorry, Mrs. Milliman.
That's okay. Deborah Buhner,
Here.
Matt Malarchuk,
Here.
Julie O'Hela,
Here.
Richard Pilon,
Here.
Travis Neville,
Here.
Tim Tarja,
Here.
Amber Hanson,
Here.
and Mr. Hall,
Here.
who I saw earlier.
If everyone would please stand and join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we start, I am looking for a motion to amend the agenda. I would like to add a public comment for the purposes of the pre-K program under quality education. I would like to amend the approval of the minutes to approve the minutes of the October 28th, 2024 regular meeting and October 28th, 2024 closed session. And I would like to add under stable finances, a contract approval.
Make that motion as stated.
Seconded.
Moved by Joy. Supported by Travis. Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
Julie O'Hela,
Yes.
Richard Pilon,
Yes.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Tim Tarja,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. And I need a motion to approve the minutes of the October 28th, 2024 regular meeting as presented and the October 28th, 2024 closed session minutes as presented.
Make that motion to approve those minutes.
Support.
Moved by Tim, supported by Deb. Any questions or discussion? Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
Julie O'Hela,
Yes.
Richard Pilon,
Yes.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Tim Tarja,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. And then next we have the annual audit presentation.
So all of you should have your audit packet, and Laura couldn't be here today, she's sick, so I'll be taking over where she would have. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yep, can you hear us good? Can you hear us well?
Yes.
Yeah?
But I don't have the ability to share my screen.
Okay, let me see if I can give that to you.
Okay.
But if you want to go ahead and get started, I was just telling the board that I think we had another, Laura couldn't be here, she's sick, she's usually here to help with any specific questions about the audit, but she's not here tonight, but I think it was a positive experience, so if you want to go ahead and start, see if I can get you to.
Okay. Well, starting on page 1 of the financial statements, you'll find the independent auditor's report. And this report provides, it lays out the responsibilities for management as well as the auditors during the engagement. We also provide our opinion in this letter. For this year, we gave a clean or unmodified opinion again. That is the highest opinion that we can give, highest level of assurance that the financial statements are free from material misstatement. And then that they're also in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States, aka GAAP. Additionally, we found no audit findings for internal controls over financial reports. There were no material non-compliance with applicable laws and regulations. And thank goodness there were no new accounting pronouncements to be adopted this year.
Are you able to share yet?
Yes, I think so. Here we are. Okay, can you see that?
No, not yet.
can kind of keep going if you
Yeah.
want me to.
I'll get it figured out.
What I'm looking at, but, I have a table pulled up that has the governmental funds balance sheet, for each of the different types of funds, so your general funds, special revenue funds, and your student activities, and your food service, debt service, which includes your 2019 and 2023 debt funds, and then your capital projects funds, including construction and building and site funds. Really, the biggest thing that I wanted to show here is that the asset to liability ratio is 1 or above, which shows that your funds are operating at an optimal level. You're not spending too much, and you're not borrowing in order to meet cash flow needs. Next, I've got statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, and this is more focused on the general fund. So this shows kind of a 4-year look back. As you can see, revenues and expenditures incrementally increase over time. That's pretty typical, especially as we see cost of things increase, and we also see different pushes for different types of funding flowing through from the state and federal levels. Overall though, the general fund saw a net increase of 1.7 million this year, which is great. Here's the general fund overview of revenue by source. As you can see, 55.7 comes from state sources through your state aid, and then 28.7 is from local sources. That is largely made up of your property taxes that are levied, and then federal sources at 10.2%. So where are those funds going? These are the different expenditures by function. 61.6 is going towards instruction, which is exactly what you think of it. It's instruction of students, teachers, any supplies needed for instruction. Supporting services make up 32.5%. Those are things like your administrative, transportation, and any operations and maintenances. The benchmark for this, instruction usually between 60 to 70%, and supporting services sitting between 30 and 40%. So you're right within that margin. Here's a 5-year trend of the general fund balance. And as you saw earlier, we saw incremental increases, more revenue versus expenditures. So you see that increase over time, bringing you to your almost $9 million fund balance in the general fund. So we also provide a federal compliance audit. That is required if the district receives and spends more than $750,000 of federal funds. So Sheboygan had almost 3.5 in federal expenditures this year. 2 of the programs were considered to be type A, the Education Stabilization Fund, or what we call ESSER funds, and then the Child Nutrition Cluster. The major program that we tested this year was the Education Stabilization Fund, and that made up 47%. So we only needed to test 1 of those this year, and there were no audit findings reported. So with that, we gave also a clear or modified opinion over the compliance for that major program. And we also gave no non-compliance or audit findings for the internal controls over compliance. So those are both the highest opinions that we can give as well. And then we also provide a in relation to opinion as it relates to the financial statements. So you'll see, I believe it's in note F of the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, you'll see a reconciliation between the CFA and the actual financial statements. So that kind of ties everything together. And then lastly, we provide a CAS 114 letter, the letter to the Board of Education. So we are required to communicate any difficulties that we ran into during the audit, if there were any issues or irregularities, if there were no changes to the planned scope of audit, that would all be listed in this letter. We did not have any issues as we performed the audit. It went very smoothly. We have a great working relationship with Laura and Deb as well, so we appreciate that. And then lastly, in the paragraph, we provide just some information on the general fund ending fund balance. As of the end of the year, June 30, 2024, the fund balance made up 38.2% of next year's budgeted expenditures. We typically suggest anywhere between 10 to 15%, so you're in a great range, doubled and even tripled those amounts. So What that tells us is that you don't need any short-term borrowing to meet those cash flow needs. And that is all. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
I don't think we have any questions. Thank you for your time. So we got an A+, that's what I'm hearing.
Yes, they went very well. Yep. So if you have any questions following the end of your meeting, please feel free to reach out to Laura to pass those along.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Pete, there you are. We'll just switch you all that out. And that's it. I think, are we ready for Pete? Okay, we're ready for Pete.
Well, good evening. It's good to be back.
We missed you. You took a couple months off.
We took a couple months off, you know, we enjoyed the summer and the early fall a little bit, so. Well, again, my name is Pete Bush. I know we got a few new board members, so we may not have had the opportunity to meet previously, and Brad Jacobs is here with me as well. Brad and I have really worked very closely with the district from really August of '23 through the referendum vote in August of '24. And so tonight, Spencer has reached out and asked us to kind of come and give an update. And now that the bonds have passed and the bonds were sold in the last month, so that the district should have the funds from Series 1 in the bank. And so it's really now time to get going from the design perspective. So I'm going to review a few things and then also share a few items in terms of timeline. So tonight I want to just quickly, especially for the sake of the 3 board members who are new on the board, and anyone in the audience who might not be familiar, just kind of review the original scope and timeline so they see what was approved by the voters with the May referendum. And then try to break down each of the phases of the timeline and then answer any questions that you may have as well. So first, I'll just dive into kind of that original scope. And all of you, I think you all have a copy. This is the document that we shared with the board just as we prepared for the pre-qualification meeting with State Treasury back in March. That PQ meeting was actually in April of last year. And so it includes all of the different items, the scope of the things that were going to be done in the first series and the second series of the bond. So I've kind of got those highlighted here as well. But just quickly to review, you know, the first series of the bond was a little over $15 million. And of that, just under $14 million was work that the district was asking SiteLogic to help with the design and the construction management side of as well. But there were a few items down here in the lower corner that the district has the funds available for, and the district is going to manage those programs or those scope items themselves based on the additional funds that the district has. So you can quickly see that most of the first series is really the major renovation over at East Elementary and the addition to that building. And there's a little bit of work with the HVAC controls at the intermediate middle school, a couple scope items at Inverness, and then the big one athletic-wise is the track replacement, other than the district-managed items as well. And I do want to just remind the board that when we went through the pre-qualification process with State Treasury, we were planning for 2026 construction for almost all of this work. The district-managed items down in the corner, those really can be done anytime. Now that the district has secured the funds, the district is welcome to move forward with those projects whenever you see fit. I did put a little yellow arrow by the asbestos abatement piece because that is something that we will want to really coordinate well with the district because we can't get started on the East Elementary renovations until the asbestos abatement has been done in that building. So we've got to make sure that we plan for that together accordingly. I also want to point out, if you kind of, I'll go back and forth real quick. If you see that first amount, that was the original amount that was planned for the sale of the first series. When the sale of the first series of the bond actually occurred, taxable values had increased and interest rates were a little bit better than what was originally planned. So that the PFM, your financial advisor, was able to actually move about $910,000 additional dollars from Series 2 into Series 1 of the bond. So that was the amount of the money that the district should have for construction in the first series at this time. Series 2 of the bond, whoop, I want to go back here real quick, was originally for $6.5 million. A little over $5 million of that was, again, work that SiteLogic was going to help the district with. You can see that the majority of the work in Series 2 was really at the high school, and some of the renovations and the HVAC equipment that we were going to work with there. There was also a little exterior work at the intermediate and middle school because it made sense to do that exterior work at the high school and the middle school at the same time and try to create a little bit more efficiency for the district through the bid process. And then there were a few more items in Series 2 that the district was going to manage on their own.
Pete, can you explain the difference between a Series 1 and Series 2 for those that may not?
Yes. I'm going to go to this next slide real quickly. And on Series 2, I put this, bonds are scheduled to sell in June of '26. As we mentioned, the first series of bonds were just recently sold in the last month by the district. That's where you use your financial advisors and your underwriters and go out and sell your bonds publicly so that the district can secure those funds. The Series 2 bond is, and the reason that the district chose to do it in 2 series is because by not issuing all the money up front, it's going to save interest charges for taxpayers long term. So it allows the district to get the first series of funds, work on those projects, which you have 3 years to spend 85% of those funds. And then in Series 2, once those sell, you'll have an additional 3 years to sell those. But the district doesn't have to begin making payments on the Series 2 funds until those bonds are sold. And I also want to point out with the June 2026, depending on how things are going over the next 2 years and what the financial situation is, PFM may also be able to help push that up a little bit if the district wishes to do so. But based on their original estimates, they were targeting that for a June 26 sale. The other thing I want to mention when I go back real quick, I mentioned before that $6.5 million was originally Series 2. Because $910,000 was pushed into Series 1, that'll mean that Series 2, when it sells, will actually be $910,000 less. So the district was able to get a little bit more money up front because the interest rates were favorable, and so that'll push a little bit less money into Series 2, but still more than enough to cover the items that SiteLogic will be helping the district with. And some of these district-managed items here that are in Series 2, because of the extra funds that have been put in Series 1, the district has the ability to move those items up as well and work on it prior to the June 26 sale because the money is available for some of that work. I do want to mention that Series 2 was really targeted for the spring-summer of 2027 construction. So throughout the first series and second series, the thought was the majority of first series construction would take place from spring of 26 through the fall of 26. And then the Series 2 work would take place from spring 27 through the fall of 27. As I mentioned, some of those items in the lower right-hand corner that the district will be managing themselves could be pulled into Series 1. Now I do want to talk just a little bit about the different phases because they do align really well with the series. But Spencer did reach out to us in October and ask about a couple of items. One, it was the track replacement. And would there be any possibility of us trying to push the design of that track forward and maybe be able to tackle that work in the summer of '25? And then the other item that he mentioned was the restroom remodel at Inverness, if there was a way that we could do that. So we brought our project design manager and our project construction manager to the district back on October 29th to do a site visit and actually let them set their eyes on that if we were going to try to get started a little early. The design team got started with that work the week of November 11th. They've been doing a lot of kind of work behind the scenes to really try to get the surveys of the track and some of that stuff moving forward. And they are right now hopeful that we will be able to get into the design and potentially get those items spec'd and ready to bid by the end of February 2025. So that is kind of the push that they're trying to make, but they did remind me before Brad and I come up here tonight, be cautious, because that is a really short time frame for design and getting out to bid, and then from the time we would bid in late February to the time the work would begin in like May or June of '25 is really tight as well. And a lot of contractors book their work long before February, so that we are we're hopeful, but also a little bit cautious that if we do go out to bid and the environment isn't really competitive, and and you don't get the types of bids that you'd like to see, you may want to hold off on something like the track and wait till 26 to see if we can bid it again in the fall when people are really lining up their work. So we just want to be realistic with the district that, pushing those forward, we're going to try and do our best to make that happen. But be aware over the next few months as we work on design and the bid process, we'll really see, because we want the district to try to stay on budget as much as possible. The other thing to remember, if we are able to push the project forward, especially with the track, we really can't start construction until the end of the spring track and soccer season. And during the construction process, not only is the track not going to be available because the soccer field is the infield of the track, that's also not going to be available throughout the summer. And depending on the construction timeline, it could have an impact on the fall soccer season as well. So those are things as we work through the design process, we want to work through with the athletic department as well to make sure that we're not creating a hardship for the district. If, you may need to look at alternative sites for soccer games or something like that during that construction process. This is the design schedule, and Brad, I think, had shared this with the board back in, late August or early September. Just kind of looking big picture. Next week on December, I think it's next week, December 5th, on that next Thursday, we are planning to have a design kickoff. Our entire design team will be here in the district, and they will spend the day really going through all the details of the design process for Series 1. We'll review all the scopes with the district and make sure we set that design schedule. And then these next ones are tentative, hoping to get schematic design done in February, March, design development by April, May, really get our construction documents in line by the end of July during the summer, and then get all of the things out for bid in Series 1 in September, October of 2025 for that spring, summer 26 work. We really feel that getting out in the fall as early as we can is what's going to give you the best environment to get competitive bids when people are lining up their work. So that's what we're hopeful of in terms of that timeline for that first series. For those of you that haven't met Becky, she is our architectural project manager. She's been in the district once already. She'll be here again on December 5th. So again, if you look at kind of the phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 timelines, again, we're hopeful phase 1 we can make some of that construction work with the track in Inverness, but phase 2, most of the elementary, intermediate work, and phase 3 is where most of the high school work will be completed. So with that, sorry I went really quick, but questions? Anything that Brad or I can help you with? It's very exciting to think of all the work and the changes that are going to take place over the next couple of years. So certainly thank you for trusting us to help you with that, and congratulations on working with the community to get the bond passed.
Thank you, and thank you guys for your help. It was very, for a small school district like this to have you guys on board to help us with, especially with the marketing. The marketing people were great and really helped us get that information out to the community to help them understand the facts so they had all the information to vote.
Absolutely. You guys all did a great job getting that information out as well, so we appreciate that help as well. And know that we're available at any time over the next few years if there's ever questions or needs.
We're going to have to set you up an office over here. We'll get you on.
We're here all the time.
We have our seat. We have our name on our seat.
Right. We're going to get you a cot too, so you guys can stay over there.
All right.
Well, in the bidding process and all, is there any, with bonds, is there any requirement to say 50% has to be local construction?
There is no requirement now. What we will help the district with when we put everything out to bid, obviously we have to post it locally.
Yep.
It's got to be on the state site for a minimum of 14 days. We'll collect all of the bids for you. We'll go through a bid opening and invite anyone locally to join that bid opening if they want.
Okay.
We'll help the district with all of the bid interviews to make sure everyone that bids is meeting all of the qualifications that they need to meet. And then we will help the district just to decide on recommendations. And I know like Spencer and his team will bring those recommendations to the board, but know that it is 100% the board's job to determine which bids they want to accept. So, we'll always say, here's the lowest qualified bidder, here's the next lowest qualified bidder, but you may look at someone who is from outside Michigan and someone who's local, and you may say, hey, if there's a $5,000 difference, we're going to go with our local. That's certainly a decision that you will get to make. But we will do our best to try to encourage people in the local area to bid on these projects.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? All right.
I'm
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
for
so
coming
much.
down again. You're up. I think Mrs. Dolly is back to do Student of the Month for us this month.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Alright, here to present for Student of the Month at the high school. And I'll start with 9th grade, Lily Potter. Come on up. This is a treat. I had told those that usually do this that I might be able to make it because I nominated Lily. And they said, oh, really? Can you do all of them? So I'm glad that I get to read this. Okay. So I nominated Lily for Student of the Month because of how hard she works and how well-rounded she is as a student. She consistently shows a strong work ethic and produces quality work that reflects her dedication and effort. Her positive attitude makes her enjoyable to be around every day, and she often goes out of her way to help others, serving as a great role model for her peers. I also admire her ability to speak up for herself when things are important to her. And while her competitive streak might run away from her during review games sometimes, it also serves her well in pushing forward and trying to reach the next level of success. I hope this isn't the last time I have her in class, so I can continue to watch her grow and achieve her goals. For 10th grade, we have Daniel Harkey. So he was nominated by Mr. Frederickson, math teacher at the high school. And he had to say, my father had a saying that resonated with me, especially since becoming an educator, and that is, I value a man with the eagerness to learn over a learned man with no further ambition. Daniel has been coming to my class since day one ready to learn, with his hand in the air asking questions and giving it his all. Busy with football and now hockey, he ended up behind where he wanted to be in my class. Instead of dwelling on the fact that it is a demanding course and making excuses for the lack of time given his schedule, he started spending his lunch breaks with me to catch up. That kind of determination and ambition is what I truly value in a person and a student. All right, 11th grade, Braxton Estes. He was nominated by Mrs. Spears, English teacher. And she says, I have had Braxton for student teaching and now I have him in my English 11 class. And I have to say that Braxton is a very hardworking student. He sits near the back of my class during third hour and he always pays attention and works hard in my class. Not only that, Braxton is kind and respectful to his classmates and to me as the teacher. Braxton is confident in his work and always takes initiative to ask questions and to ask for help when he is struggling. He shows motivation and the perseverance that can be marveled at from classmates and from teachers. With that being said, Braxton earns Student of the Month award to the highest degree. I love that we have everyone here tonight, so Helen, come on up. She is getting the award for Portugal. Great. And she was nominated by Mr. Wright, U.S. history teacher. He says, Helen Wolf can be seen every week marching in parades and at halftime as a key member and a leader of the Sheboygan Marching Band. Helen is a friendly, hardworking, well-rounded leader at Sheboygan High School, and I'm proud to nominate her for Senior of the Month. Helen is an exceptional musician, playing the flute in Sheboygan's band program for 7 years. As a senior, she leads by example in the marching band and is a positive influence on the younger band members and helped keep the band together through difficult transitions. She has also been a cast member in several plays. Ms. Wolf participates in ski club and is a talented artist, especially in drawing and painting. She's a very hard worker and has been employed at the Stargate Motel in Indian River for 2 years. She enjoys riding snowmobiles and other winter activities in the winter months. She's an outstanding member of the student body in class of 2025. She's planning on going to college after she graduates and studying environmental science. I'm excited to learn about all the great success she has in the future, and I'm proud to nominate her as the October Senior of the Month. Thank you.
Thanks, Mrs. Dolly. We are gonna stick with this theme, and someone should be here to do Inverness Academy Spotlight.
That'd be me. Hello, everybody. Mick Kenya, social studies teacher at Inverness Academy. We only got one student spotlight. We do student spotlight. Just a quick little explanation for those who don't know. At Inverness Academy, we're an alternative school, so we like to do student spotlight. Not just because we want to show off the best students, but we also want to show off the students who are working hard to make it through all of life's challenges, both academic and personal. And this month, our student spotlight is Leon Roll. You want to come on up? And go to little Bob. So Leon is one of our seniors graduating at the end of this marking period. Very exciting. Leon's a student who did not graduate with their peers. Most students see this as a sign to give up and drop out, to continue beyond this point, to achieve this point of success is a sign of not only prioritizing your education but also dedication, right, to overcome obstacles. Also, it's Leon's birthday today, so happy birthday, Leon. And Leon is shown to be a positive influence on our school. He's also very artistic and plans on running a business one day. So, excellent. I broke the frame, so we'll have to get you a new one. Here's your certificate and your shirt and lanyard.
Congratulations to all of our students that were recognized this evening for all of their hard work. The board would like to take a second to recognize that our students would not be able to be as successful as they are without a strong support system behind them, helping them achieve their goals. So if you are here this evening with one of our students, please stand so that we can recognize all of your hard work as well. And then at this time, we do have the Tribune here this evening to take all of our students' photos in the hallway. Following your photograph, you are free to come back and join the rest of the meeting, or quietly slip out to your cars.
Thanks, Brian. Pete, thank you. Have safe travels. Okay.
Next on the agenda is the pre-K program discussion. Before we got a brief, or not a brief, we got a wonderful presentation from Dan at our last meeting. I don't know, before I open up for public comment, do you have anything that you'd like to say about the pre-K program?
I just want to highlight that this whole idea was brought about while we were in planning our strategic plan. We had lots of stakeholders there. We had parents, community members, board members, teachers, in identifying what our priorities for the district should be. Preschool was high on our list. So I just wanted to highlight that and know that, what's best for kids, this is it, in my opinion.
So what I'd like to do is have maybe public comment before the board discusses this motion so that we can address any concerns. While all of the building administrators are in the room, I would just like to point out and go on record that all of you have said that you do have it within your capacity to absorb the extra students that you're all going to be absorbing due to this shift. Like Ben, you'll now have extra students. High school will have extra students.
We won't really have extra.
Because you will, right? You will have 2 through 6,
Instead of, right now, we're.
instead of 6 through 8 for you though.
Oh, me
Because
personally?
you'll be alone.
Oh, yeah. We'll
You'll
go.
be all alone. We're good with that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then Deanna you said last week, or last month that you were okay with the extra students, okay. So at this time, I would like to invite anyone that would like to address the board specifically for the purpose of the pre-kindergarten program to step up or to just stand and state your name and address and make your statements.
Like your whole address?
Yeah, well, or just your school district, so that we know that you're a district.
Christina Moore in Richardson Road in the Sheboygan School District. My only thing, and I don't know all the rules, but the Monday through Thursday program, we have a little one in preschool. What do you do with the kid, your child on Friday? I was able to get into a daycare for Friday only, but now you're gonna have many more kids, and daycares probably aren't gonna have a position for Friday only, because then they might have to give up kids Monday through Thursday. So I don't know if it's like that is what you can have, but just a thought to put out there, because it would have been a big hardship if I couldn't find a daycare on a Friday.
I think we can we answer that or no?
I don't, I mean, that's
Deanna
gonna,
can, I mean, that's the way the,
we're not
Deanna,
gonna structure, I mean,
That is how it's been recommended to us to run it, just because that's how GSRP programs typically run.
yeah.
With that Friday being the day that they do their home visits and such, because those are also a requirement
Yeah.
for the preschool teachers, and the day that they also get their coaching, and, prepping for everything. So, not that there aren't other options that we could be looking at, but that would be the structure of the actual preschool program.
Well, and NEMSCO's the same, that one, our little one is, so.
I just want to clarify something I know Eric was asking me about. So if that switch happens, right, it wouldn't necessarily be, and this is something obviously we look at down the road, but I wouldn't be there by myself. I guess that's what it's.
you would, there would be one building administrator, correct? I'm correct in understanding that it's 2 through 6 with the vice principal? Yeah, right.
No, I think what we talked about doing was, and this is yet to be determined. Right now, I think you guys all know with Jim Tamlin's passing, I'd like to thank Jason once again for stepping up. He's here today in the back of the room, and he's gonna finish out the year for us in a very difficult situation. But he's just signed up for this year, so what that's going to do is grant us some time to work on what the model's gonna look like. So, for example, maybe tonight we decide that pre-K is something we don't want to do. If we don't want to do it, then we're looking to hire a replacement for Jason next year. If pre-K is something that, that we started talking about last year in December, as Deanna said, in regards to the strategic plan, if we want to implement a pre-K plan, the only way to do that, and we've talked about, I think anybody who will listen to me has heard me say this, is that the only way to do this would be we would have to shift. The only building that has room to absorb more students is the high school. So if we added initially 2 sections this year with the idea of possibly adding more depending on student demand, we could be up to possibly, 4 or 5 sections, Deanna, in 2 years, which means the elementary school would be maxed out, which means that 2nd grade obviously would have to go to the intermediate school. Now, if 2nd grade goes, some of the discussion, and again, this is all informal discussion, is 2nd through 6th grade is a little bit better fit than 3 through 7, just due to some different, situations, middle school and intermediate kids. If it was 2 through 6, the discussion has come up at the administrative table. Well, would it be best to then switch to Ben most likely being the principal and hiring an assistant principal? So you would have one building, but you would still have, because you still have the same amount of kids, you're still going to have the same amount of discipline, you're still going to have the same amount of teacher evaluations. That's not going away. But instead of having an intermediate and middle school merged in that building, it would just be an intermediate school. And then you could be potentially, one scenario, you could be the intermediate principal, but definitely we'd have to consider an assistant principal, right? because that's 100 kids per class, you got over 400 or 500 kids in that building, that would be a lot for one administrator.
That is what I meant, or is that not what you thought was happening?
I understand there are other questions from people around who
One
wanted to clarify.
administration office
Yeah.
under one,
Yeah.
I had one principal and an assistant
one,
principal.
yeah.
Right.
Okay, Eric Hall, 6869 Chippewa Trail. I just wanna, if you're gonna go ahead with pre-K, which I think is fantastic, I'm so glad that's something we're doing. But I think that if you're gonna make that decision, you need to almost guarantee that Ben is going to have an assistant principal, not an informal discussion about potentially having one. Because we had an amazing principal, Mark Oberman. Same amount of grades, he left because it was way too much for one person. And so if you're gonna do this, make that guarantee that he will have the support he needs, because there's no way one person can have 5 grades by themselves.
Right.
It's just impossible.
And Eric, I agree with that. I mean, that's something that and I
should be
think even the board agrees with that as well. It's just a matter of, are we gonna do
Sorry, I
pre-K
didn't
or
mean to
not?
make everybody panic. I
Yeah.
meant one
Yeah.
Oh, and I understand, I'm just
one
saying,
administrative office.
if you go pre-K, that's the route, then in the same time, you should guarantee that he's gonna have that support, not just say it's informal, and then
Yeah.
later go, no, we decided not to.
No.
Nobody's taken away, there's gonna be the same amount of people, whether it's a principal or an assistant principal.
And
or
actually,
an administrator.
Actually, Ben and I've
Yes.
talked about this several times already, and I wanna make sure he was comfortable with that model, if indeed this comes to fruition. And I think Ben is comfortable with being, he's been 2 years as the middle school principal. I think he'd be in a perfect position to be the intermediate principal, but definitely would still need an assistant principal to help him with all, that amount of kids, you are correct.
And I think you're right, he would be a great principal.
He'd be all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Ben?
I got one for you. Does the construction that was proposed impact, going 2 sections this year and 4 sections next year, or would it?
I can speak to that just a little bit. The only concern I have is, right now we're going into the design phase with Site Logic. I think that, and the design, the majority of the design, what the ideas aren't gonna be impacted whether or not pre-K is there or not. Because they're more global, it's like opening up, we're moving the office, we're doing some peripheral stuff. But the classrooms could make a difference in the design of the classrooms. So if you're gonna add preschool and you know you're gonna have more little ones than big ones, then there's a lot of things that those types of teachers want. Ideally, this is always a big one, a bathroom in the classroom, right, Deanna? So design would be impacted significantly. And I do think Pete and Brad need to know that as soon as possible. So as soon as we can, as a board and as a community, as a group, can say, this is something we wanna do, we're gonna push forward. That's something we would, because they don't know that. I was kinda hoping they'd stick around, but they need to know that. And then also, I think our goal would be, right now we have the GSRP program, which Wolverine and Vanderbilt just started, they're in their 2nd year this year. And Joe Bird just started for the 1st year. So we're in good company in the COP ESD. But I think that's something that we can move towards, but to start conservatively, and in the notes that I sent out on Sunday night, we're looking to probably start with 2 sections. Now, if you take a look at all of our grade levels throughout the remainder of our school district, K through 12, we average a little bit over 100 students per grade, about 110. So right now, the GSRP program is capped at 16. So that's 32 students. We're assuming that if we stay on average, ultimately that class will be 100. So 2 sections will fill up pretty darn quick, I think Deanna agrees. Now what the next question is, how many do we want to offer based on student demand? I think Deanna and I, talking informally, I think you feel very confident that we could have up to 4 preschool classrooms. But we want to start with 2, because you're also going to have to find 2 good preschool teachers and 2 aides for that classroom too. So there's a lot, I don't want to set us up for failure, kind of start slow, but then with the ability to grow. And if we can impact the design, if we make this decision soon enough, it could help with the design as well. Okay, sorry. Well,
I had a question posed to me from the public that I wasn't able to answer, and I'm new to the board and to the construction and whatnot. The question was, would this be a temporary move?
not from my perspective.
Okay.
So I think Deanna, and those people that were part of the strategic plan last semester, well, it was first semester of last year. It wasn't until December that we got our strategic plan approved. But part of that strategic plan, which was really great because we had community members, parents, students, teachers, administrators all decide, here are some of the top things that we think Sheboygan should do. One of them came out of that strategic planning process was we need to have a pre-K program. And I know Deanna knows her business, so the research suggests if we want to do anything to have a long-term positive impact on academics here within Sheboygan, is to add a preschool program. And that's really one of the things that we don't have, and that's something that the strategic plan brought to our attention last year, and now I think we're ready to move. But I think with our community especially, I think that's probably the best thing that we can do, especially for some of our younger parents who need that extra year of school, could use that additional help. That would be significant for them, and I think you would see that success perpetuate into their later grades as well. Would you agree with that, Deanna?
Absolutely.
I just, one final question. When the seventh graders go to high school, are they gonna be considered high schoolers or middle schoolers? Will there be a 7th, 8th middle school and a 9, 12 high school? Or will they be doing exams like the high school kids do?
I'm glad you asked that question, Eric, because I've been talking to Marty and Ben quite a bit about this. One of the things, we knew this was hovering out there, so what I've asked all the administrators to do is, all right, pretend as if this is happening until I tell you it's not. So Ben and Marty have been thinking logistically through their heads, okay, if we brought 7th grade over here, what would that look like? What are our objectives, our goals? We're obviously not going to throw the 7th graders into the high school or the senior hallway, right? And they already have a pretty good plan. You want to share that with us, guys?
Sure. I mean, it would be a few minor construction type things with one of the rooms that, we actually have a current room in the high school that is 2 classrooms, but it's as 1 right now. So we need to do a couple construction things in that to make that a 2 classroom setup. There'd be a couple rooms that would have to get juggled around. We're actually playing around with the idea of a 3rd lunch option too, to totally separate it up. But again, logistics are gonna tell us whether or not we can do this or not. But right now, we've tentatively made a plan with the current schedule like it is right now with the 2 lunches. If there's a 3rd lunch in there, it could definitely help separate things around. That may mean the need of bringing on an additional staff member if we did that too. So there's a lot of things that are kind of, I guess, in the stew that's getting stirred right now, but it definitely can happen where we can primarily have our 7th and 8th grade in their wing, if you will. I mean, it's still 1 building, but in their defined wing. There's going to be some layover courses though where it's going to have to, I mean, obviously, we're not building a 2nd gym. So if these 7th grade kids are taking a gym class, they're going to be down where seniors also take gym throughout their day. The cafeteria still has the interaction of 7 through 12 if 7th grade was there too. So there are going to be some spots that would have some commonality, but we would do our best spot to, not to use the wrong word with this, but to make it a secondary school with a junior high feel and a true high school feel as well.
Yeah, and I think that will benefit the 8th graders too. I know the 8th graders have been over at the high school for a long time now, and they're the ones that are kind of caught in limbo right now. They're not quite in junior high, and they're not quite welcome at the high school. So having the 7th graders join the 8th graders, and if we need to, take a look at an additional administrator to help with that and make it a junior high feel. Because I also think you guys are looking at the 2 hallways. When you come in through the main office, right, the first 2 hallways to the right, those are closest to the office.
The 1 in the 200 hallway.
Yes.
Yep.
And that could be primarily all 7th and 8th graders, and they're close to the office too.
Yep.
So, yeah, they've been thinking about it, and I think feel pretty good about it.
If you were able to kind of separate out 7th and 8th as like a junior high like it used to be many, many years ago downtown, would they be able to somehow form their own identity?
Well, ultimately, if they're a true middle school, they would have their middle school aspect, and the high school would have theirs. The only thing that you are going to have in both Ben and I in our former schools, it was more of a combined with middle school, high school combination too. You have to do your best with creativity with scheduling to eliminate all the interaction that can take place and try to
Well,
limit.
not so much, just like the, I think we were like the junior chiefs, I don't, forgot what, or the Braves, or something like that.
Right,
Many, many years ago when we were downtown,
right.
and so we had our own mascot, our own identity and everything.
Something along those lines I don't think would be at least on the agenda to do right off the bat, simply because if you look at, from an athletic point, you know, with the conference, there's already all the logos and everything made up with the Chiefs logo on that and whatnot, so
Just, yeah, something for the 7th and 8th grade.
totally get it, yeah.
I think with the athletics, with the 7th and 8th graders being on the athletic middle school teams together and being in the same building, that's gonna be a step in the right direction with them being able to get that junior high feel. Because that sports is a big part of middle school and that, and getting that kind of camaraderie together.
Okay.
What gym would be considered 7th, 8th grade gym? Would they still go to the intermediate school
That,
gym? Would they
not
still-
necessarily, I mean, the scheduling will dictate, I mean, high school will have first preference over the high school gym. But, I mean, it's not like the middle school is far, or what used to be the middle school, intermediate middle school. I know a lot of our we would probably still have to utilize that gym for some of the games, because sometimes we have games going on at the same time. So that's not gonna, I mean, all you gotta do is walk across the street, but, yeah, we're definitely gonna, I mean, there's been talks out long before I got here about adding another gym. That's not in our immediate plans as you saw from Site Logic. So because of that, we're definitely gonna have to still have access to that other gym. And middle school games will still have to be played there. Now, whenever we can get into the high school, let those, I'm sure they would love to play on the high school court, right? If it's basketball or high school fields, if it's varsity. So, I mean, whenever we have an opportunity to let them have fun in the main gym, that'd be great.
Well, yeah, well, right now with girls basketball, boys basketball, you got kids, you know, practicing till 8:30 at night.
Oh, it's
And if
busy,
high school has first dibs, you're gonna take your 8th and 7th grader in and practice from 8:30 to 10?
right,
They
yeah,
still
yeah.
practice at the middle school.
Right.
They do now.
Yeah, we're
They
very
enjoy
creative
playing
with practices, we have people practice, I mean, we got the, was it 5th and 6th grade girls practicing out here at Inverness right now, and wrestling and softball are very flexible, you know, in a small school, well, that's a good thing when you have, we're a small school district essentially, but we have so many kids involved in athletics that it's sometimes hard to find space. And I will tell you that the athletic committee has talked several times about the need for additional space, in particular the building of another gym. Again, that's not on our immediate plans, but I do think that's probably something that you're gonna continue to hear, and ultimately, I think it will come to fruition. It's not gonna be within the next, we got a lot of other stuff going on in the next 4 or 5 years, but I think as you start talking 5, 6 years down the road, that another gym is gonna come up.
Chris again, I don't remember what we're supposed to list here.
Address. You're in the district, it's just if you're in
Yeah,
the school
so-
district.
Speaking as a parent, and a 7th grade teacher, so I have a daughter that would essentially possibly be in the high school in 2 years. I've talked to a lot of my students that are 8th graders now. They do not like being mixed in with 12th graders. They feel like they should have had a middle school experience. They don't have one unless there is literally a separate office for middle school, 7th, 8th grade. There's separate hallway, there's a separate schedule. They are 12 and 13 years old. They still die to have recess, and it hurts them when they don't have it after the first 4 to 5 weeks of school. They are still very mentally immature. That jump to have 12 and 13-year-olds with 18-year-olds, and then I'm just thinking of a mom of 3, I do not like that. I know that 8th grade was supposed to be separated. You have 8th graders in the senior hallway. So unless, like, logistically you are separating these kids, as a parent, that worries me significantly. And as a teacher advocating for my students, they don't like being over there and they want to come back where they can have their own hallway and their group of peers that are their same age. So logistically, planning it out, the layout of everything, I'd love to see that before we just vote on it and we have an idea of what classrooms look like. I could go through our building layout and special ed rooms, and you're not going to be able to use them for a gen ed classroom. They are too small. So just something to look at with the layout of everything. Like, not to be a Debbie Downer, there's a lot of stuff to look at. So that's my 2 cents.
Are there other public comments? Are there board member questions? I know we talked about this last month also. Would the board like to go ahead with a motion regarding the pre-K program this evening?
I might add that if you don't do it tonight, I don't think it's gonna happen next year. So that's
I
another.
know, we gotta, it's with the design and all of those things.
Yeah, there's a lot, I mean, there's always gonna be something to do. This is not, 4 + 4 = 8. It's gonna be highly fluid, but until we make a commitment that this is the direction that we want to go, I don't wanna waste our building administrator's time, my time, Deanna's time, all these Site Logic's time, and developing plans that we're never going to complete. I mean, we got, as you saw with Site Logic in particular, we have a lot of things to work on. I'm just trying to clarify the picture in regards to what does the board want to clarify as the priority of those projects that we want to work on, because if we're not going to commit to pre-K, I'm plenty busy with the other stuff going on.
I personally am ready to ask for a motion, but I would like to informally poll the board to see if we would like to vote on this, or if you would like me to table it.
I think we can vote on it.
I think we can too.
I'll speak, as a parent of a 4th grader and a 7th grader, I understand that concern about mixing the older kids with the younger kids, because it obviously, 12-year-old and 18-year-old kids maybe don't mesh so well. I also think too, a big part of it though is the culture of the building, which those two guys have greatly changed this year, to where with the kids too, I mean, we gotta have the older kids kind of mentoring the younger kids. I know, personally, like my son would love being around some of the sophomores and juniors and seniors, because he looks up to a lot of those boys. And, them seeing them go down the hall, hey, how's it going? Like that kind of, there's also a lot of positive things too. I mean, I get it'll be a challenge, but I got a lot of faith in Marty and Ben that they can kind of mesh all those kids together and actually create a pretty good environment. But I do understand people's concern about that gap, because it is something significant also. And I think also too, a lot of our 7th grade teachers going over there are pretty good teachers, and might also have a positive impact on that building and culture over there as well.
I do also think, for Marty and Ben, there is some merit to the community was told a lot of things about what it was gonna be like when the 8th graders went into the high school, and that's not what it's like. So I think that, I'm not saying that you're gonna be able to separate them, but I think it is going to be very important that we are honest with our parents about what it's gonna look like and what that would be like for them. Because as a mom, I was told that my daughter would not come into contact with seniors at all. That's not what's happening, and that's fine that that's not what's happening, but it's not fine that that's what I was told, so that I would be comfortable with it. I just think the honesty and transparency in the process this time around is gonna be important in winning some of our parents back.
Absolutely, and transparency is exactly the right word with this. They're gonna be involved with each other throughout their day at some point or another. I mean, we're not gonna try to lie and say that when it happens. It's going to, the job that we have in front of us, we have to limit the interaction.
I think, but you also make that interaction
Positive.
positive. I think that's possible.
100%.
I mean, are there gonna be issues? I'm sure there will be, but that's why you
We have
guys
those
are
on the
handling
school
it.
bus too.
You're right.
I'd like to just add on to what Matt said, that the 8th grade has been out there for, I don't remember how many years, but long enough where had some grandchildren go through there. And they're a lone wolf there. So putting the 7th grade there will give them that feeling where they are a junior high. They can have their junior high dances, they can have junior high pep assemblies, they can have all those junior high things that 8th grade doesn't get, because they're just like in no man's land out there. So to put them both up there, it could give that. And I trust Marty and I trust Ben to make sure that they do the very best they can to make it so that they don't have those interactions with the upperclassmen as much as they possibly can. Now, there may be an 8th grader that might be in advanced math and might wind up in an advanced math class, and there would be some, I don't know if that even happens now, do they go from the middle school over there to do that? So that, you know, that's already happening. But as far as, I just really trust them. They've done an awesome job. I think they've done a great job in the high school in the short bit of time that they've had, and they know that that is an issue that everyone is thinking about, because I know they've been told that over and over and over again. I've said it over and over again myself, that there needs to be transparency. They need to be separated. But it would give the two of them together, and it has really bothered me a long time that the 8th grade was out there as a lone wolf and nobody to do those interactions with. And so now they have that other class. So, or they would have that other class if we went through with this. So, 5 2 cents.
So if there was a vote tonight, how long would it, because we're voting on two things. One, pre-K, then also moving 7th.
We're just
Eighth
voting on
grade.
developing a pre-K program, but if we
But
vote
it's
yes on
somewhat
developing a
contingent
pre-girl,
on that, right?
we will have, the district will have to shuffle students to make room for a pre-K
No, I know
program.
that, so we're not only voting on pre-K start, but conditioning that Ben and
Right.
Marty
It'll
comes back
shift
to us with
everything.
a plan to say, this is how we'll handle it.
Does that
Yes.
shift have to happen next? Can you vote and shift 2 years from now, or does it have to shift next year?
We will
with
have
the
to
two
shift to
classrooms?
make room for the new students.
Even just for the 2 classrooms?
Correct, there's no classrooms, there are no classrooms at Eastside.
Yes, no, Chris Brack. I totally agree with pre-K, I think we need it. But is there a way to just put pre-K out here where Head Start used to be? Because we have extra classrooms, they were set up for that grade level. I understand that we're putting money into East Side, I totally get that, but that's not what people think the bond was for. People do not know that that's what our plan was to shift buildings and shift grade levels. Like someone said earlier, parents have come to me already and they're very upset that their 6th grader might be going to the high school next year as a 7th grader. Some parents said they might pull their kids, which that's their choice or not. They're concerned about that. And I'm just asking, did we think about where's the money gonna come from to redo the bathrooms at the middle school too, so that 2nd graders can use them? That the lockers are usable for them? That all this stuff is made to their level? So I'm not saying I don't think we should have pre-K, I think we should, but is there another option to put it somewhere?
So the bond projects that are happening, the things that are happening at Eastside are happening at Eastside regardless of whether or not pre-K goes in there. So it's not gonna take extra money, those classrooms are already gonna get modified that way regardless.
Right, for ease,
So
but for the other schools if we switch them around.
Right, so it doesn't really have much to do with us misusing bond money. Because those are the things that we've already decided to use that bond money for, plus the additional funding that would be made available to us from the state to start the preschool. So the bond money is gonna be spent exactly how, on these things that we said we were gonna spend it on, regardless. I see value in having our preschool program for the transition from preschool to kindergarten and being in Eastside. I think that that's gonna be very beneficial for our little learners. It'll make that transition a lot smoother as opposed to having them out here and then shuttling them back. Certainly though, approving a pre-K program this evening, the board is not going to decide what that looks like or how that is designed. That's gonna be something that Deanna works, it's gonna be primarily Deanna that starts up that program, but restructuring the district is gonna be something that administrators are gonna have to sit down and work out together. It's not, that's not something that we would necessarily decide on. I don't think that they need our permission, our permission to pick a classroom essentially, so it's not something that would need to come back to the board or that we would discuss. Maybe having a committee, like a district committee that discusses that when they develop the pre-K program could be beneficial for different staff input. I'm not answering your question, I know.
No, you're good. I just,
I feel like there is not a perfect solution. There is not a perfect solution for how to introduce pre-K to the district. Pre-K was introduced in the strategic plan as something that was desired and wanted by the community. It was something that they wanted to have happen within the next couple of years. That was over a year ago. So in order to find a way to make pre-K fit, I think we're gonna have to be flexible in some area, whether that be moving the pre-kindergartners, whether that be moving the older kids, there's gonna have to be a flexible shift somehow to make room for it. Just none of our buildings have room for all of these kids as is.
As some of you might know, I was a high school teacher for 11 years. Both of my parents were teachers. I've been involved in 5 different school districts during that time, coaching sports, being a teacher, and I can very confidently say that I've never been around a higher caliber, higher character group of young men as I have been here with Sheboygan, including the young man that's here with us today. I don't have kids, but if I did, I would love for them to see examples like that walking the hallways. I would feel completely confident, and in fact, encouraged by the fact that they get to be around people like that every day. So that might not help your concerns, but from my perspective, it's a bonus. It's a net positive to be able to be around role models like that. That's my 2 cents.
You still have a question?
I think more or less a comment. So I'm Matt, I'm from Sheboygan. You know, I look at, we have 2 boys that are on the bus for an hour in the morning, maybe an hour and a half at night. And on certain bus routes, you have kindergartners that put on the bus next to the seniors. And there's very little supervision. I'm a product of that. I was the kid on the bus, to the bully, to the guy that got kind of beat straight by those on the bus. So when you start looking at whether or not we need the program, I think we need the program. Maturity level of the kids going into kindergarten, they need something more than what's there. You just can't drop them into school. So I think it behooves you guys to say, we need to do something, and then figure out the details. But when you start with the big picture, kids in the bus, very little supervision. Bus drivers do a great job, but they're still, you know, bad things are happening on the buses. So as you guys are looking at instituting a new program that's gonna help the community, I think you need to do it, and you need to figure out how to do it, and eventually someday, we're gonna run out of buildings. So what's the plan for the next 5 or 10 years? It's probably gonna be a new building. And hopefully you guys are thinking like that, as you start to say we're gonna pull things in, because as a community, it'd be nice to think we're growing and not shrinking, like we have over the years. But if you do make the moves, I will ask, as a parent that occasionally goes to high school to pick kids up, and hates the 3 o'clock rush hour, or the drop-off, please do something. That intersection coming out of the school or going to the school is probably one of the most dangerous intersections out there. That's good luck. We need to do something. So if you guys are making the plans, hopefully you make a good choice to say, we need not pre-K. I think we need it. But think of the other aspects that are out there.
Haley Dolly, parent and teacher in the district. I'm 100% in favor of preschool. We need it. We have needed it. I appreciate you saying that there's no perfect solution. There isn't. I just ask that you think of the details, listen to people with the concerns. There's things that every different stakeholder is thinking of. Things like, is the middle school physically built for 7-year-olds? I don't believe it is. So what do we do about it? Not, they can't go, but what do we do about it? Also, I ask for the honesty and transparency, not only as a parent, but as a staff member. It feels like much of this has been behind closed doors, and we're hearing it through rumors of some of the second graders will get moved. All of the second graders will get moved. All of these shifts, we need information. We need everyone's buy-in. We only get the support with information.
I actually have a comment about that. So I appreciate that it's difficult to get facts sometimes. From where I'm sitting, sometimes it's hard for me to hear that because typically there's nobody sitting here in this room. So when I get a lot of comments from people in the community that they have no idea what's going on, I never have anybody sitting in this room, so it's difficult for me to say, if you wanted the facts from me, then here's where they're at. I'm also, I try to be open and receptive. I've had no questions from any community members regarding anything. I do see a lot of comments, you know, about myself on social media, but I don't ever have anybody ask me any questions or looking for information. So I don't know how, you know, we have the meetings, we share the information on the website, we send things out. I don't know how else to be transparent or to get that information to people. I don't know if maybe we could just tell people, hey, have you asked? Because I'm happy to tell you if you ask.
And I don't have a perfect solution either,
Yeah.
but not everyone can attend this meeting.
Right.
Once a month on a Monday at 6:30. We have commitments.
Mhm.
There are things online that are supposed to be there that are not updated regularly. We
Okay.
can't access it the next day. It takes time. There has to be something. And I'm willing to be part of that solution.
I think, Amber, in your defense, we do have the videos posted on the web. I mean, I do look at them because when I'm sitting here every month, like, listen, I do go back and look in case I miss something. So they are posted. I don't know if community members want to get to those videos or not, but they are on there. So in terms of like the pre-K was brought up and it was extensively discussed at the last board meeting. So I mean, people can go on and look at it. So I agree, that is transparent right there, so.
It also goes out on Sunday, or it's gone out more than
Yeah,
once,
I don't
correct?
think I've talked about anything more in the last year since I mean, everybody, every teacher, every faculty member had an opportunity to be a part of the strategic plan. Some of them chose not to be a part of that planning. But those 30, 40 people that were there talked plenty about pre-K. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted us to have this conversation tonight, because what I didn't want to happen is you guys direct me, okay, Deanna, Spencer, Deanna's already filled out the application, so we need a little bit of guidance, right? But either way, I mean, this is not a personal decision, this is a school business decision. I just need to know, are we doing what we said we were gonna do over a year ago? Or do we wanna kick that can down the road for another year? Because right now, it's gonna be difficult for us, if approved tonight, to have a pre-K program ready in the fall, right? There's a lot of, not just this decision just allows me and Deanna to say go. And then we gotta do a lot of work, right? So I thought it was really important to get in front of this so that people, it's out there, it's been out there. I don't want people to say I haven't heard about this because I've been talking about it for a year. This has been the #1 thing on our list. So, you know, I just need to know, is it a go, or are we gonna maybe put it on the table and think about it for next year? That's what Deanna and I need to know tonight.
So, I'm not trying to be a problem child here, but just to clarify, first of all, I absolutely fully support the pre-K program, okay? Absolutely. My heart's with middle school. I taught middle school 31 years. I don't like the idea of them being lone wolves. We have to commit to giving them the support they need, the time they need to appropriately program for it. So in my mind, I would like an answer to, are there rooms already retrofitted for little people for 2 sessions?
That's why we have to decide, is because that's gonna be part of the design process, but they'll be shifting, 2nd grade would have to shift out in order to utilize Eastside. So that
I
the
understand
kindergarten,
the move,
yep,
but,
the kindergarten classrooms that we have
okay,
prior to doing construction would house pre-K until construction is done. But we would have to decide so that,
but the shift is gonna have to occur immediately for
Yep.
2nd and 7th grade
For
to
next year,
house
yeah.
2 classrooms of preschool.
so then our new little learners would be in what are currently kindergarten classrooms.
Okay. But there's no other rooms that are already retrofitted in the district for that we could put 2 classrooms in. And instead of doing the shift now, I'm trying to voice some of
We've
the
never had a pre-K
concerns.
program, so, with the district.
There was a pre-K program, a private pre-K program at the high school that didn't,
Yeah.
re-up their lease, but unfortunately, that, I believe that room's been repurposed, hasn't it? So that's not available anymore.
But that was only for one, they had to share that classroom, it was for one class at a
Yeah, I
time.
think they capped it at 15 students,
Yep, and
it
then
wasn't.
they did, split days and a morning and a PM session
Mhm.
to accommodate, because there was only one classroom.
Sir, I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Yes, I agree with the first 2 young ladies, and especially the other young lady that had to called out the attention to the pre-K in the middle school, or in the high school here, because I had 9 children at home. There's no way I would have allowed my 3rd grader to go over to this middle school. And there was no way I would have allowed my 8th grader to go to the high school. You're doing it for dollars and cents, but you're not getting back to the children. That's what we should be after. Now, if there's pre-K money available, maybe the school isn't ready for it yet. But there's no way I would have ever allowed my 3rd grader to go to this middle school over here, or my 8th grader, and 8th graders are a challenge, girls or boys. And the community has gotten rid of all their elementary schools. That's the most precious school. If you don't start about right, especially with their parents and everything, it gets worse up in the higher they go up in school. And so I just want to compliment the young ladies down there for throwing their 2 cents in, which was worth a heck of a lot more. And this young lady concerned about the preschool that's available to at this point right now.
Is there any more necessary board discussion? No more board discussion, I'm looking for a motion.
I'd like to move that we develop a pre-K program for the 25-26 school year.
Support. Moved by Travis, supported by Julie. Any questions? Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner? Matt Lorchek?
Yes.
Julie LaHila?
Yes.
Richard Puan?
Yes.
Travis Neville?
Yes.
Tim Tarja?
Yes.
Amber Hanson?
Yes.
I would like to voice my yes. Thank you.
Okay. Julie?
Okay, on November 19th, we met, the curriculum committee met. The first thing on the agenda was Ryan McClintock, and he gave a report of some up-and-coming things that are going, that he would like to explore. He presented the Perkins Math Improvement for Plan for Region 4, outlined an action plan template that has already been submitted to the state, currently in implementation stage. This is a state mandated initiative with only 4 regions statewide exempt from participation. In addition, Ryan proposed a new career tech education program featuring a SHAR-M video that highlighted career opportunities in emergency medical services, law enforcement, and firefighting. The program's initial focus will be training for Firefighter 1 and Firefighter 2 and EMT certification. So it would be great.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. If we could add that into our CTE program. As part of the state requirements, Ryan formed an advisory committee comprising of 11 community professionals and 3 staff members to assess program feasibility and community need. After presenting his findings to the curriculum committee, he began completing the required documentation. The next steps include applying for the program approval from the Michigan Department of Education, visiting the SHRM program, reviewing other state-approved public safety criteria curricula, and designing the curriculum. The program will offer certifications in firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and EMT. Fortunately, a certified teacher is already on staff at the high school, which will make that program easy to implement. Moreover, the program includes an articulation agreement and will add to our CTE EMC offering, enabling students to earn up to 12 credits. Ryan also reminded us that the high school curriculum guide needs to be updated with our EMC offerings. The next thing we talked about was the Raptor safety pilot to enhance safety through technology. A new system is being considered where visitors to our school buildings would scan their ID upon entry and receive a visitor pass. The initiative is set to be piloted sorry, at the high school and is currently grant funded. Additionally, the next half-day professional development session on December 4th will focus on safety measures aligning with the district's strategic plan. The next thing on our agenda was the MyKIP and SIP, which is school improvement, yeah, all these acronyms. JD is attending that MyKIP conference last week, actually to support ongoing improvement efforts. Spencer has expressed a desire for school improvement plan teams to participate in curriculum meetings, fostering collaboration and alignment between improvement initiatives and curricular goals. Just want to add that way the individual buildings strategic plan will feed into the district strategic plan. We will all be on the same page. We had a preschool update by Deanna next. And we just talked about everything that goes along with that. There was a curriculum update. The building has put efforts on continuing the guaranteed and viable curriculum maps to be on our website. Over the next 2 days, 2 consultants from the Institute of Educational Excellence will be on site to facilitate work on continuing this work. Curriculum mapping remains a priority, but finding the time to complete this work is an ongoing challenge. We did discuss a few ways to create time, if that's possible, to help get that done. We next talked about postings and new hires. There's still a search for a special education teacher at East. Still, nothing happened this past week. And meanwhile, the director of STEM education, Laura Percival, is scheduled to present on My STEM during homeroom to early middle college students on Monday, which has already happened, correct? That was today. Additionally, Spencer has nominated Jim Tamlin for Educator of the Year award, recognizing his outstanding contribution to education. There was no public comment, and our meeting adjourned. Our next meeting is scheduled for December 10th. And that was it.
Other questions for Julie? Next, we have the request for an early graduation. Jacob Goforth. Is that this student here? Are you Jacob?
I'm Marty's son.
Marty's son. So sorry. Is he here? He's not here? Well, disappointing. He wants to be a Marine.
He said he was going to be.
So he needs to graduate early so that he can be a Marine.
Are you, Marty, are you aware of the student?
Yeah,
And he's got all the credits that he needs and he wants to go into the Marine second semester,
He's done a
correct?
full audit with the guidance department to make sure he would be equipped by the end of the semester.
So in order to graduate early, the board needs to approve that,
Yep.
so that he can do that. Yep.
That's awesome.
Are there any questions? Looking for a motion to approve the request of Jacob Goforth to graduate early upon completion of the first semester in January 2025.
I'll make that a motion.
Seconded.
Approve the request of Jacob Goforth to graduate early upon completion of the first semester on
in January 2025.
Seconded.
Moved by Julie, supported by Travis. Any questions? Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
Julie LaHela,
Yes.
Richard Pilon,
Yes.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Kim Tarchet,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. Congratulations to Jacob Goforth.
Go forth and conquer.
Yeah. We do have a resignation this evening. I don't see Mrs. Ives here either.
Amy's not here, no.
So I am looking to accept with regrets the resignation for the purpose of retirement of Amy Ives, Sheboygan Intermediate Middle School art teacher, effective at the end of the school year after 25 years of service to the district.
Also move.
Support. Moved by Deb, supported by Julie. Any questions or discussion? Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
Julie LaHela,
Yes.
Richard Pilon,
Yes.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Kim Tarchet,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. Congratulations to Mrs. Ives. She's not here, but best of luck to her.
Go get him.
Next on the agenda is a bus driver grievance hearing. I want to check to make sure that you do want to have that in open session.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, then you are up next.
I turned in for per diem on a meal, and it was shot back to me, and I went at quite length explaining what happened. It was at a Bob Evans, and it was really busy, and it really irritated the manager. And I sent my detail back, and was returned, please return copy of Marlon's credit card bill. And early on this year, another driver had, the question was about, for some reason, she had two guests at the top, and it was $1.97 off. Well, they gave me VA credit. They give me a discount at most restaurants for better credit, so there was a difference there. But I went through this server, then the hostess to change the ticket, and then he had to go to his duty because 9 o'clock at Bob Evans, it was packed. So the manager was called out, and I tried to explain to him that I have to have a detailed ticket, dinner ticket, and your man just throwed it in the trash and said he was printing me another one, and it only shows the receipt of payment. And that man went through 2 buckets of trash while customers are waiting, and finally found the original ticket, which I included. And so anyway, early on, we had another driver submitted a ticket that had 4 guests on it and 3 dinners. So I asked the driver if she was asked for a copy of her credit card statement. She said no, and she said she was paid. So that's where I stand. And I think I was very honest, and I have no problem. It was submitted, and I would think most people would want to be paid.
So, for clarification purposes, this paper that I have in front of me says that you're looking for verification
No,
of how much money?
I'm looking for the amount of the receipt. Dinner was $27.91, and
So the issue at hand here is that you've turned in 2 receipts and the amounts don't match. So I believe Marlene was trying to clarify, could you show a redacted statement of your credit card statement that just shows that charge so she knows the correct amount to pay you? I don't think the issue is she doesn't want to pay you. you've got two receipts with two different amounts, being that they are, even though it's a very small difference, we have to have the same amounts matching, so when we get audited by our auditors, that was just on TV, we have that documentation, and what you've provided does not agree. So that is her issue, she's not able to see because you've got two different amounts.
Well, from a standpoint of myself, it's $1.97, so why not pay the lesser ticket?
It's irregardless of paying the lesser of the two, she's gotta have two documents that match, and right now she doesn't. So by providing that statement redacted, she's not asking to see any of your other purchases you've made on your statement. That will just verify the amount actually charged, and then she can use that for backup and pay you what's owed to you.
Well, having been in the food business for as many years as I was, it's very hard to walk up to the young people today that can even count change to you. Now, he was the third person that threw my detailed ticket away and gave me a receipt that didn't have the detailed ticket on it.
Yeah, I understand the difference, but what
I
Martin.
have two receipts, two detailed receipts
Yeah,
that were submitted.
when I went up there, I said she hasn't added the pie and the VA discount. If you look on the one ticket, she has written on there, due VA discount, and the coffee. So the fella rang it up, it didn't detail it out, and it came a different amount.
Why can't you just provide a copy of
Yeah,
the
Marlene
statement
just
so she
needs
can pay you?
verification on which one of these is accurate so that she can release that fund.
That's all you have to do, is just give her that and she'll pay you. There's really no issue, besides something that seems like you're making out of this. You've gotta give her the correct documentation so she can pay you. That's the only problem. I see there's two different amounts. I wouldn't know which one to pay you if I was doing her job.
And I think she needs to have the correct one on file in the event that we get audited.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I disagree with you. If you don't wanna pay the bill,
Marlene is not going to be able to disperse
then
funding
don't tell her not to
without
do it.
correct documentation on file.
I've been through 3 different issues over this, and the server doesn't know how to do it. And
Really?
I've argued, I've got 3 upset, 2 owners and 1 manager.
Well, this,
I'm not going through it anymore.
this bill is from October, so it's gonna be on your credit statement, how much you spent. So you would just need to send her your billing statement with the
You
information
don't
for
need
how
to
much
send the
you
whole
spent.
statement,
And you can just
Not the
read
statement,
that.
just
And
this
everything
one.
else.
just a line item.
Just the line item for what was spent. Not this one.
I'll give it a consideration.
Okay, so I need a motion in regards to Marlon Lowry's grievance.
I'll make a motion to deny the grievance.
Seconded.
Moved by Matt, supported by Travis. Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk,
Yes.
Julie LaHila,
Yes.
Richard Pilon, Travis Neville,
Yes.
Ken Torja,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. Matt?
Finance?
Finance.
Okay, I'll try to go quick because we talked about some of this stuff already today. So we just went over the previous stuff from last time, just got an update from Steve on projects that they've done. They fixed the access reader on the P door, just switch it around, so I think we could probably eventually take the gates down up in the fitness center. The rest of the science furniture, the new science furniture has arrived. Obviously, Site Logic, just, they're working on the showers, we talked about that. The track was talked about. Fixing the tennis courts up in the front there, that's something we're gonna do, so Steve's working on that.
Do we know what we're doing with those yet? I know there were like several ideas.
I think we don't have any specific things yet. I think the idea was maybe to have like a tennis court or two and like, then turn it sideways and have a couple pickleball courts up there, because that seems to be popular with the community and with kids. So I think that's kind of the plan, but obviously there's nothing in stone yet, so a lot of people say they have a better idea than we're all
Oh, I was
for
just
it.
kidding.
But that's what's all that I've been informed of. Looking at turf projects for the athletic fields, we have to get, they've got to give Steve the specifications so we can get a bid out just to know what it would cost, because we don't really have any idea yet, so need to get more information. The middle school curtain needs to be replaced, but I think they may end up just taking it down, because it's not really being used anymore. Steve's gonna do some more sidewalk repairs and carpet repairs this summer. He's gonna do a couple bus purchases once the window opens. I think in December it was, looking to buy 2 this year, which will be used, the bond money will be used for that. We looked at resurfacing the gym floor in the high school gym. Jason has got a quote just to give us an idea of what that would cost. It was around $40,000. That would obviously still have to go out to bid, but it was to give us an idea of what something like that might be. The cleanup around the high school courtyard area, I think, has basically been done. The old CTE building is gone. That was next to the bus barn. Thunder Bay has, I don't know if did that get sent to everybody, those?
I don't know if everybody got it.
Anyway,
The drawings?
Yeah.
I saw those.
Okay, so they've kind of proposed initial drawings. I think we talked about it at the last committee meeting, that we'd like to talk to them, because some of the stuff in there really wasn't what they kind of presented to us. Some of those drawings, they had like a conference room and a couple other things, but they kind of were curious as to what's required. My thought, based on what they said, was they were gonna add another provider, because we could like double the amount of care given to the kids, but based on the drawings, it kind of looks maybe not that's
Like
the
it's
case,
not?
so we need to ask them just what's going on, which I think we will probably next month or so. Steve's looking at getting some quotes. I know he got one, but we'd have to, again, bid it out for a new forklift in the bus barn. I think the one he has now is 55 years old. Is that right, Steve?
It's 45.
Okay, 45.
Same age as me.
So.
And you did find some other potentially less expensive.
Yeah, I found refurbished ones that had a 72-point inspection that are significantly cheaper, so I'll present those at the next meeting.
But anyway, so Steve, there's a lot of loading and unloading that goes on out at the bus garage, and so the one they have now is kind of barely being held together from our understanding. We just looked at middle school bleachers. We talked about just looking at seeing what it might be to replace those. There's only 3 rows of steps, and then you're stepping on top of the seats with no railings or anything up there, and also no wheelchair section.
Yeah, I see people fall in those all the time.
One, I mean, when people come in on a wheelchair too, they're like in the corner and basically almost on the court, so.
It's dangerous during volleyball, yeah.
So I think that's something that we're gonna be looking at. The insurance is gonna be moved from Priority Health to Mesa for all employees right now. That's what the teachers have for health insurance, but the premiums on Priority Health were gonna go up like 50% for the employee. The district pays the district part of it. That doesn't change anything, but it's just the employees were gonna have to pay way more. So they're changing that, which will offer them better coverage. It will be a little more than what they're paying now, but a lot less than it would have been had they stayed with the first provider. Bus driver negotiations just wrapped up this morning, which will be on the agenda later. I would pre-K, we talked enough about that, and and then just that the audit presentation was gonna happen, so that was pretty much it at the finance committee meeting.
Questions for Matt? Looking for a motion to acknowledge payment of the current regular and bond invoices in the amount of $358,887.63.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
I'm doing I heard you start first. Moved by Matt and supported by Travis to acknowledge payment of the current regular and bond invoices. Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner?
Yes.
Matt Malarchuk?
Yes.
Julie LaPila?
Yes.
Richard Pilon?
Yes.
Travis Neville?
Yes.
Tim Tarja?
Yes.
Amber Hanson?
Yes. Next on the agenda is the approval of a contract. The bus driver contract is the last one for us to approve this year. Are there any questions about that document? That was
I'd like
in
to
the
thank
packet today.
Tim and Matt joined us as part of the negotiation committee. So I think it was very helpful to have 2 board members on the committee and help us go through this process. Also, Rob and Steve are here. They were part of the committees as well. And I would like to thank the bus driver union. I thought we had a very good negotiation process. I think it was drawn out a little bit longer than any of us wanted, but I think it's a good deal. I think it's a fair deal. I think both sides are very happy.
I would like to thank everyone involved too. I'm Rob Duffney, by the way. I'm the newly elected president of the Bus Drivers Union. So we worked diligently, got over some humps, and in the end, I believe everybody is happy with what we came up with.
That's good, that's
Great.
refreshing. Are there any questions about the contract? No. I'm looking for a motion to approve the bus driver contract as recommended by the Finance Committee.
Make that motion as presented.
Support.
Moved by Julie, supported by Tim. Mrs. Milliman?
Deborah Buhner,
Yes.
Matt Malarchek,
Yes.
Julie LaHila,
Yes.
Richard Pilon,
Yes.
Travis Neville,
Yes.
Tim Sargent,
Yes.
Amber Hanson.
Yes. And then Matt, Athletic Committee.
Okay, still working on the football schedule a little bit. I think we just got a couple games to iron out there, but it's looking pretty good so far. We approved them purchasing some new banners in the high school gym. Right now, as they're situated, you can't really see when you're up in the upper deck, down when you're up high enough, and also there's many different mismatch of colors and fonts and things like that. So Jason proposed getting some new ones and moving them onto the far wall there to allow everybody to see better. Travis came up with a good idea to have some kind of auction off the old ones, because there may be some former alumni who may be interested in some of those banners that they were a part of. I don't know if it'd be possible to have like our marketing students do it, or other people. That might be like a fun project for them, or I don't know, some way, we'll figure it out some way to do it, but that was just a good idea he thought to do with the old ones, to bring revenue back. We already talked about the CTE building. I think we talked about, well, Mr. Morton's here, had addressed the board last time about making a donation to allow some kids to get into the games. I know Marty and Jason have been trying to figure it out. I don't know if they've gotten back with you yet, but I know they're working on it. They were gonna get back to you soon.
I'm waiting.
Okay.
I'm ready to make it.
But they kind of trying to figure out the best way to do it, because there's just some kind of behind the scenes things to work at, but they are coming up with something for you. But thank you for making the offer as well.
Great idea.
Travis, our Travis right here, repainted the field goal posts at the football field, and I think straightened one or two of them out, the goal posts. They look real nice out there. Did on a volunteer basis, we didn't give them anything. We already talked about middle school bleachers. I think Steve's added the AEDs in the gym, right, Steve? That one's in there, yeah, so have what we're supposed to have there. We asked about the soccer team, just because their numbers